Happy spring, everyone. With us today on the Mayor's Table is Farmington Police Chief Steve Hebbe. Policing is a critical institution in all of our communities, and we're fortunate to have a chief who is both passionate and vocal about his chosen profession. Stay tuned for information on recruiting, our new police station, and why reckless driving is a problem in the city of Farmington. Hey everyone, welcome to the Mayor's Table. With me today is our dear friend of the show and of this community, Farmington Police Chief Steve Hebbe. Chief, thanks for coming on.
Good to see you again, Mr. Mayor.
Man, this is going to be a fun show.
Yes.
You're the funnest guest, I think.
Well, okay.
So we'll see how that turns out today.
Yeah,
you know,
dangerous.
I don't want to put too much judgment ahead of time, but no, thank you so much for coming on. Lots of things happening here. Not just in the city of Farmington, but throughout the state of New Mexico, and policing is a big topic. At the time that this airs, unfortunately, the 60-day session will be over. At that time, we'll understand whether or not there was any type of crime bill that was actually put forth and adopted that's going to do anything at all. But not even knowing what's going to happen, is there any particular bills, anything happening in Santa Fe? You've been there, you were there a bunch.
Yeah, I've been there a fair amount.
And I know you're the president of the Chiefs Association for the state. So you play a big role there, but we were hoping they might find ways to come together and actually give some bills with some teeth. What are your thoughts?
I would say it's been a disappointing session so far, honestly. I have been down in Santa Fe quite a bit. We talk with legislators, and really some of ours have been pretty receptive. They listen. But the bills that we're actually tracking don't do much and aren't going to make much of a difference on crime, unfortunately. And even just some common sense legislation. We had 2 officers killed last year in New Mexico. We ourselves, as an agency, over the last couple of years have had 2 officers shot. And it just shouldn't take too much for a small state like us that's having officers shot and killed or just shot to come up with stronger legislation to protect officers. It definitely, to me, it speaks to our police across the state. We'll get into it later on. We have a recruiting and retention problem in New Mexico, and for all the money we've thrown at it, at the end of the day, what we don't do is say in plain English, if you hurt a police officer, if you stab one, if you shoot one, we are going to put you in jail for many, many, many years, and we just can't do it. So really, the enduring one for me that I talk about down there is when Elias Buck shot Officer Barretto a couple of years ago. He got more time in federal jail that he's currently doing for being a felon in possession, got 10 years to do, than he's going to get in the state system for being a felon in possession who shot a police officer at point-blank range as an escaped felon. So he'll get less time. That speaks to the people that are doing the job, and,
right.
And honestly, I was spectacularly unsuccessful in getting people down there to agree that we need to do something more to back our men and women in blue.
I think it speaks right to the heart. Why would anybody want to get into a profession where you're expected to enforce the law and put your life at risk, and not have some sort of feeling like, okay, my legislators, they care about me. We've got laws in place to protect me, and criminals need to know that I don't understand. There's actually multiple components currently going on in the state where we're having issues attracting doctors and medical providers to the state. Well, why is that? Well, because currently the way the tort system works for med mal, you can sue them out of existence. So why would you want to come to New Mexico if that's the case? It's
right.
Not friendly for that. And I mean, I have good reasons that I think why. I mean, there's trial attorneys who make a lot of money suing public entities and
Well, and honestly, it doesn't take a real big fact checker. A lot of trial attorneys are in the legislature.
Yep.
So, we spend a fair amount of time, again, this is the 3rd year that we'll have debated the body cam bill, that forces police departments across the state to wear body cameras. Not a bad bill in its concept, and FPD already had body cameras even before my arrival.
Right.
So while I support body cameras, the bill has been argued back and forth, and there's punitive language in there that if the officer does not have his body camera on, then it is presumed bad faith on the part of the cop. So this is the third year now that we're arguing about this bill and the wording in it.
The may and the shall.
The may and the shall. And in the end, what we're not talking about is any more significant incarceration for people that hurt cops. So if I got you on my body cam and you're actually shooting me, shouldn't you go to jail a little bit more than just being a felon in possession in the federal system?
Right.
But we don't send that message to people, even though crime is a significant issue in our communities, and you saw the governor really going around the state and meeting a lot of supportive people that are afraid right now and want the state to do more on crime. That just doesn't happen when I enter Santa Fe and I head into the roundhouse. It's just a different world there.
What do you think it is? I mean, there are laws on the books that are designed to put people away for violent gun crimes and other violent crimes, but they're not. We've seen it happen here last year. We had a person who should have been in jail, got released, got put back in jail, should have been in jail, gets released again, ends up on the streets, kills 2 people, terrorizes a neighborhood.
Yeah.
What is going on with that? I mean, I hear those concerns a lot.
That one was something that I was pushing. I wanted something more done for a truth in sentencing law, that our citizens understand what happens to somebody. So he was originally sentenced to 18 years in prison. He has 13 years suspended, so he has to do 5. He does 2.5 because he gets 2.5 years for good time. He gets out. He commits other violations while he's on probation. He has 5 years of that. He gets thrown back in jail for 5 years for probation violation, and he does 2.5 because of good time. Now, the 13 years that were suspended was never given back to him. So he was originally sentenced to 18 years, 13 suspended. No matter what he did, either in jail where he had violations or out of jail where he committed other crimes, he was never given the 13 years back. So he's on the streets, roaming the streets, and kills 2 people. And now we're kind of scrambling to, now we take it seriously, but 2 people are dead as a result of it. So I'm very unhappy with that. And really what it comes down to is, for as much scrutiny as there is on policing, we have an internal affairs division. We scrutinize our uses of force. We have a use of force team. There's nothing like that at the state level that examines cases in the criminal justice system. So there should have been somebody that takes a look and says, well, wait a minute, this guy was in the system. We did not want, at the end of this, we did not want him to kill 2 people. But that's what happened. So how did we get there? What happened in it? And they should be analyzing that. That's what we do at the PD. Right. You analyze where we maybe could have had something go different. Not necessarily that somebody made a mistake, but that the system needs tweaks. That we didn't want this outcome. How did it happen? We should be doing that, and it's just a matter of course. And it does not happen. The system just rolls on. So, yep, that's bad. Now he's off being tried for 2 murders, and we're off to the next case, and the system just rolls on. Nobody pauses to analyze things when things don't go well.
There's no IA in the judiciary system.
There isn't. And so, like, we've talked about the May 15th one, with our mass shooter here.
Yep.
And of course, we analyzed the heck out of what had happened.
Right.
The same thing with the Aztec school shooting. There was intense scrutiny of what occurred, and then we learned some lessons from it. And that just does not happen at the state level. They just do not analyze what goes on in the criminal justice system with an eye towards, hey, we actually had a problem here and we want to go a different direction. So that until that changes, you will continue to see stuff like this.
No, it's very interesting. And certainly, I believe, knowing that the governor wanted something to be done with crime, you would think that we could all come together. Last year, she tried to call a special session. Nobody wanted to play ball with her.
Right.
I have the feeling this is kind of similar this year because she's lame duck right now. But yeah, be interested to see what actually falls out. By the time this airs, we'll have known more. But
what we do know is last summer when she called the special session, she was clashing with her own party, who showed up and promptly told every New Mexican basically there was nothing we can do to make you safer, and just dismissed themselves and went home. And then that was July, and then in October we had 2 citizens killed under the circumstances that we've been talking about,
Right.
from a convicted felon who should have been in jail and shoots and kills 2 citizens here. So there was nothing you could do to make us safer. Those statements are always just stunning to me, having been in the business long enough to know there's always something more we could do. But there isn't a collegial attitude right now, I will say, out of the legislature much. They rarely involve police chiefs.
I was going to ask you
in
that
those
question.
discussions. They certainly don't on the front end. Hey, how could we get together, and what are some things we could do together? On the back end, we'll see the bill, and then it becomes an argument of whether that's really going to be effective or not. But there isn't a collegial sense there, and on top of it, the governor's office, I think, is continuing to push. We want tougher crime laws. Even D.A. Bregman from Bernalillo County has been going around the state and making the same case, and they are just meeting intense resistance in the legislature. So
It's sad because it's affecting every community in our state.
Absolutely is.
And certainly the bigger communities, they're facing a level of it that we, fortunately, knock on wood, we're not dealing with here, but we're getting some of that.
yes,
We did recently have a homicide that
We
occurred
did.
here in the city, and I know that was something we wanted to kind of talk about today because of the component of vigilantism and
yes.
kind of go into that.
So if you aren't aware of it, the case began with an investigation by FPD into a report that came through CYFD and Children's Protective Services of a child abuse involving a juvenile in a chicken coop, and she was made to stand in the chicken coop, and we actually have a solid case, and eventually charged the 2 parents in that case with child abuse on a felony level. And they were released from jail. So we made the arrest and they were released, which is pretty common these days on pretrial. And one of them showed up. They were living separately at that stage by order of the court. The male half shows up for his trial or his preliminary hearing, and the female half was killed as she went out to her car to come to court. So it has been a case we've worked very hard since then, and what we got on social media was a lot of cheerleading, basically, that don't cooperate with the police, don't talk, don't give them information, and support for somebody that would kill her, because in the social media world she deserved it, and those are always ominous words, right, from law enforcement. It is not our job to make those kind of decisions, and seeing the community, or at least a portion of it, really kind of rah-rahing that. And I get it, it's easy to get upset about the crimes that were underlying
Sure.
it. I'm no happier about the guy who killed 2 people,
Yeah.
So I'm very unhappy oftentimes with some of the crimes that we face. But I certainly am not willing to turn over the reins to just whoever decides they're going to go up and decide that they're going to take action on their own, and we will solve this case. I'm very confident of that. It's a complex one, but we've got a lot of evidence already that we've gathered. Our detectives are doing just a great job on it, working with our real-time crime center. Our camera system's paying off, so we will solve that crime. But it was disappointing that there were so many that can't see the danger of people taking the law into their own hands. And there was even some talk of 1 down, 1 to go. So that puts the police department basically in the place of trying to protect the other suspect when he gets released again. And where does that stop, right? Anybody that speaks up for them on their behalf, then they're threatened. Family members are, where exactly does that stop? And I can tell you where it stops for me is, look, we made an arrest. The criminal justice system is working it, and hopefully the law is adequate to deal with it harshly. Otherwise, it goes to some of the things we were talking about. We need to be cognizant of who we're voting for and what their stance is on tough on crime legislation.
That's a very valid point. I'm glad you're able to speak so fluently on this, because it's true. We don't need vigilantism in our city. Obviously, we want the Justice Department to do what the Justice Department does, and the police play a role in that. The courts play a role in that. The attorneys and the DA, they all play a role in that. But, cheerleading murder is never, in my opinion, a smart thing to do. I've certainly seen plenty of crimes where I thought that person deserves to die, but I'm wanting the justice system to do what it needs to do in those situations. Sure. But yeah, I don't know. I can imagine you began policing back, before the automobiles, came about, right? I mean, just kidding.
It's been a while.
I did your bio the other day at that at that meeting, but just the amount that has changed in policing over that time, it's very different now.
It is,
and we're seeing, there's good and there's bad. I think in all of that. I think when you came here, the use of force changes that we made were important changes that had to be made to move our police unit forward, and it was very controversial at the time. But it's played out that everybody's had to follow suit, and it's become a requirement, and you were kind of ahead of your time, so to speak, here in New Mexico on that end. But at the same time, kind of going back to what we were talking about before, the difficulties now of finding people who are willing to serve their communities in the role of police officer is dwindling. And I want to talk a little bit about that because I think it's an important component from certainly an elected official point of view. Every community member should be concerned about it. Certainly if you're in the industry of policing, how do we get more police officers to overcome what I see is this political backlash on how they do their jobs? And there's so much criticism, and it's been over the top, certainly for the past 5 years.
Yeah,
we're trying to do some initiatives here. The state has thrown, I don't know, we're looking at potentially another double-digit increase for police state officers, right? So throwing more money at it isn't necessarily always the answer, but we're trying to entice people to get into something where your service to the community as a police officer is vital.
Yeah,
it's vital. It's a necessary component. Without policing, and we look at the stats every month, I mean, it's 6,000 calls to 7,000 calls a month for a police officer or an animal control officer, but somebody who's involved within the police department to come and provide service to somebody in need. Right. That's in a town of 46,000 people. Granted, we have a lot more population than that who comes through here. That's a big number.
Yes.
So sustaining our level of services and trying to then implement new initiatives to help deal with other things or strategies to help deal with crime, speeding, etc., becomes much more difficult because we don't have the manpower to get it done.
Yeah.
So what do we do? If you were king for a day.
It's a complex problem, honestly, but one that is very frustrating and starts, like you said, we were still going through difficult times for police through the 2000 teens. And when I started in 2014, within 6 months we had the Ferguson riots and the Michael Brown killing. That was really dominating things. But nonetheless, by 2017, we were full staffing. That was 138 officers at that time. Right now, we're down in the teens for cops. So, you're down 24, 25 officers from where we were. What changed? Well, the rhetoric. The rhetoric's what got us there. That's why I continue to say it, and I'll say it out loud. The money's nice. We're paying our cops a bunch more. Everybody makes more money, and that's nice. And yet it isn't working, which isn't stunning. And I've been saying all along, it's not about the money. We were paying a lot less back in 2017 when we were at full staffing. So how come we're paying so much more now and we can't get officers? Well, because it's not about the money. You don't enter policing because you're going to make a big buck. Yes, you want to make a comfortable living. You want to have the benefits. That stuff does matter, absolutely does. But that's not what's attracting people to the job. And just like the military kind of went through, when the country starts to badmouth that profession, they find other things to do. Okay, that's not the one to do. So the intense negative scrutiny, which we did not have in the 1990s. So the difference really in the 90s was the public was scared of crime, and they needed police officers, and policing was respected, and we needed cops, and people wanted to be police officers. So there were hundreds of applicants when I applied per position. Now, it is not that way. Every bill that comes down is one more scrutinize the police. There was an article in the Tri-City Record that I talked about the other day that was looking at police violence, which is just a made-up phrase, honestly. It's not like we have bands of police officers just roaming the streets beating people up. officers get sent to calls and they get into shootouts, and some are killed. And the entire article never even mentioned how many officers have been killed in the same time period that they were looking at. So when there's the rhetoric, when it's constantly this negative view of policing, you're going to be throwing a lot of money to try and entice a limited number of people into coming into the profession. And 5 years of doing it, you would just think that there would be some sense of, holy cow, this isn't working. Because it isn't. But that's the solution we've got for the moment. We need more people in higher ranks, like like the governor's office and the legislators that are just flat saying this is unacceptable. We've got to have police officers. They will make mistakes and they will go to jail for them. The DWI scandal in Albuquerque is an example of it. They're being investigated by the FBI and they're going to prison, and they should. But that is not all our cops, and we've got to have them. And more than that, it doesn't matter how much I pay them for May 15th. When you've got somebody that sets up next to a church after he's killed 3 people in the street and yells, "Come kill me," and then in a hail of gunfire, you've got officers charging in, some of them without vests, that doesn't matter how much you're paying them. They either believe in their community and believe in the mission, or they're not coming. And so we've got to change the rhetoric on it. But if I was king for the day, I'd need more than a day. So there's the answer to that.
Well, and it's, you're where you recruit from, how you recruit, the messaging. I mean, all those things matter. And we have approved, kind of your initiative, new and upgraded recruiting initiative. And I kind of want you to talk about that. And I want you to, if you don't mind, if you're trying to sell being a police officer to people, what is in it now? I mean, you kind of said it prior to. If you love your community and you believe in your community, that's the first part of it.
It is.
But talk a little bit about what we're trying to do to, there you go, trying to improve our recruiting and retention. Retention being another key to it as well.
It is. So it really starts with, why are you going to do this job? And I haven't been shy about saying it in the past. This is like joining the military. And I was in the National Guard and went through ROTC and believed in America, wanted to defend America, my country. And the same is true with being a police officer. We need people right now that are willing to defend the weak, that are willing to defend people who are being exploited, who are being bullied. And if you're somebody like me that hates bullies, and I do not like them, they prey on the weak. They intimidate others that are just trying to live their life so that they can advantage themselves. If that is not the country you want to live in, if that's not the community you want to live in, then step up and be a police officer. That's the reason to do it, honestly. The pay and the second guessing, everybody does have the right to second guess the police, and I certainly agree with some of it, like what we're seeing with the DWI scandal. But the honest to God truth is, we have some great people working at the FPD that are doing their level best every day to keep our community safe. I couldn't be prouder of them, and every day you go home from work, you made a difference in your community and for your family, for your friends. So that's why you should do it. But it's hard to hear that above all the negative rhetoric, and that gets amplified by social media, and everybody's got the right to say stuff. Most of them don't know what they're talking about. So I would not make life decisions based on what some clown on Facebook is saying. I'd make life decisions on what I believe is my core value, which is defending my community and supporting my family and my friends, and copying's the job to do it in.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, let's just end the show there. That was great. Cut. No, it's fantastic, and I'm ready to sign up, man. I want to do that. I hate bullies too.
Yeah.
No, it's a very good point, and I think it's interesting. I feel like that messaging has kind of been lost. I mean, I got to tell you, like, just hearing you say all that was almost like I've heard it for the first time, because it's been so long since I heard somebody truly talk with a passionate voice about why I chose to be a cop. And that's exactly why you did it.
Yes.
And I think that messaging, I mean, it needs to be in every I just remember elementary school, everybody wanted to be a police officer.
Yeah.
I mean, that's because we wanted to protect people.
Yep.
We wanted to beat up bullies. You know, it's what we wanted to do. And now it's the dynamic has changed a lot. I was actually gave a presentation to some high school It was like juniors and seniors, and I asked how many in here want to be police officers, and one kid, and that was a class of probably 30 kids, raised his hand, and another kid was like, maybe. I'm like, wow. Yeah. And unfortunately, when you're in that situation, if it's not in their mind to be the first choice of things that they want to do in life, if they come back around to it, now it's the third or fourth or fifth thing, and the same passion, the same desire, and the same, well, now I'm just doing this because I don't know what else to do.
Right.
And that I think is worrisome, because then we're getting individuals who are applying that typically would not have been applicants maybe in the past, or maybe wouldn't have gotten hired. Not saying that's the case, obviously, because I think we have a great police force.
Yeah.
But I think every industry is facing some of that in some way. And really, I think it's interesting the way that society has shifted from, your dad, my dad, and their dads at the time that they were working was about pride. You went to work to take care of your family and to be able to put food on the table and put a roof over their heads, and you were proud of that.
Yeah.
And now I find that people don't want to work.
Right.
And our state is trying to find ways to make people not work, and pay you to take time off, and all the other crazy components that come into this. But the culture has shifted a lot.
Yeah.
So I don't know how we can overcome that, but we're trying something new, and our new recruitment initiative kind of, you don't have to give the nuts and bolts to it, but just the overall view.
We really are emphasizing two areas. One, we want people with prior military experience. So you've gone off, you've accomplished something, you've overcome challenges to join the military and whatever service you've gone to. We're looking for you. If you've done 4 years of active duty time, the FPD is looking to hire you. And then the other one is people who've gone off to get their education. Obviously bachelor's degrees is what people start with, but it's also associate's degrees or trade schools. You've gone off, you've set a goal for yourself, you've worked to overcome obstacles, and you've accomplished something. And like you're describing in our society right now, there's not a ton of that. It isn't in the ethos as much anymore. And the second part of it is there's a lot of victim mentality. Yeah. That bad stuff happens to me, and there's nothing I can do about it, and there's these forces against us. Honestly, these groups, people who've gone out and accomplished goals, either getting their education or going into the military, they don't tend to subscribe to that victim mentality. They tend to subscribe to, I'm going to go out and I'm going to accomplish something, and I know I can do it. And that's what we're looking for, honestly, at FPD. If you're coming to be a police officer, you're not a victim. You're going to go out and protect people who are real victims, who are really innocently injured and have their property stolen or get beat up or get shot. You are going to go out and protect innocent victims, but you're not a victim yourself, and that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, we're looking for a lot of that all across society. And unfortunately, I think we live in a state that promotes victim mentality quite a bit, because we like to play a lot of defense and have to deal with these problems on the back end, as opposed to having a winner's attitude and a non-victim's attitude and saying, we're going to go out, we're going to take care of this because it's something I want to achieve, and I'm going to do it. I wonder, too, to the component that we're now willing to pay for everybody's, college education. And before that, I wanted to go earn a scholarship, right? Yeah. Like my parents told me, we want you to go to college, but you're going to have to earn it. Well, what does that mean? Well, you're going to have to work hard and get good grades and do all those things right in order for that, or you're going to have a loan,
right?
And you're going to be paying for it on the back end. Well, now we're like, hey, everybody should do this. Well, some should and some shouldn't, but there's all sorts of opportunities either way, because I think everybody does have a purpose in life.
Yes.
The fact is you have to buy into that, and you've got to go do it yourself. You can't wait for somebody to tell you what it is that you should do. You need to go figure that out. And so those are the people that we're looking for. And because we're looking for that kind of experience, we're giving some extra dollars for those. And it's also current officers who are there currently working for us will benefit from this, as well as those that we're recruiting.
Yes. So we already give a recruiting bonus in general for both new hires and laterals, but that bonus goes up significantly by $5,000 for associates or trade school, and $10,000 if you're in the military or have a 4-year degree. So we definitely are looking to develop those areas, and in our experience, those are folks that have already overcome something and achieved a goal.
Some maturity.
And now when they come to the PD and things don't go well every day, and trust me, things don't go very well every day in policing, but you have some resiliency that you can get past it. And so that's been one of the challenges. We've hired a lot of folks, but they haven't always lasted that long because they started encountering more difficulties than they were prepared for. And so we're looking to get a little more experienced, a little more mature folks applying for the job who actually have also a little perspective. They've kind of knocked around a little bit, and it isn't just they don't know what else to do. They've knocked around a little bit and decided this is what I want to do. I want to be one of those folks that protects my community. So.
Yeah. Well, there's a big need for it, and there's a lot of issues that we're facing here locally, and one I see every day is people are driving terrible on purpose. I don't know what has happened, what shifted. We've had a study done that says our speeding issue in the city is on par with some very big cities. Red light running, I'm seeing it every day. And it takes a police force to help, kind of control some of that. But really, It's people making bad choices for whatever reason. Listen, if you're driving down East Main Street, okay, you're not going to get anywhere faster doing 50 than if you're doing 40. I'm telling you right now. You're going to get faster from light to light, but you're still going to get the light, and everybody else is going to catch up to you. Just be respectful and responsible of yourself for the sake of other people around you.
Right.
Stay off of your phone. Distracted driving is a huge issue. Every time I look over at somebody, they're staring at their phone.
Sure.
Knock that off.
Yeah.
Because the unfortunate situations that have occurred, certainly over this last year, is a number of traffic accidents which have led to death.
Yeah.
And those are simply things I believe are very controllable.
Yes.
And I don't know.
Yeah, traffic enforcement is frustrating, really. To an extent, we got ourselves into it a little bit with COVID and the shutdown, and we even backed police officers, really, not just FPD, but across the state. We backed police officers away from making proactive contacts because we were trying to keep, a force that could respond and wasn't sick. But you also had so few people on the streets, too, because nobody was going to work. And so you saw speeds pick up quite a bit, and I'm sure you saw the same thing I did. They were setting records driving from coast to coast and, things like that because there was no traffic. They were just...
It's like Cannonball Run.
Yeah, they were just flowing.
Yeah.
We have tried hard over the last few years to try and restrict that and get that back in. One of the challenges for us is our staffing. We done away with the traffic unit for a few years because we had to focus on patrol response and detectives. We brought it back because the problem just was not ending. The speeds did not slow back down. And so we do a lot of traffic enforcement right now. We're writing a lot of citations, making a lot of DUI arrests. And I think you've seen the Facebook posts when our recruits come out of the academy and they go through a post-academy, and then we're sending them out on the street for 2 weeks to do nothing but write tickets. I want in the minds of the officers that this is part of what we do. We are out here making contacts. But I also want it in the minds of the public that there are going to be consequences. We're going to stop you. We're going to get you sooner or later. But a lot of it does go to what you're saying too. Is we've lost a little of that sense of decency towards each other, and it has really become I need to get there faster, and I really don't care what the risks are or what I'm doing to anybody else. And so we don't just see speeds that have increased, but just reckless driving in general that has increased, and to include red light running. So we are going to continue to stay after it. We're going to issue a lot of citations. I know the city is looking at a number of other possible alternatives to it. We've raised the fines for speeding and red light running, and it's less of a slap on the wrist than it used to be. We need the public's input on where we should go. So if you're seeing a lot of traffic speeding and traffic violations in your community, give us a call. We definitely put it on a board and our traffic unit gets there. But also, if you're one of the ones doing it, enough, honestly, because we are not just saying it for the fun of it. There's people actually dying in our streets in these traffic collisions because speeds are so high. So a fender bender, at a red light is one thing, but when the speeds are as high as they are, it becomes a fatality or a critical injury accident. And those are just life-changing for people. If it isn't for you, it's for people in your car or for the people that you hit in the course of it. So, it's one of the top threats that we have right now to the tranquility and living a good life in Farmington is how people are driving.
And it sets a tone, honestly, because in the morning, if you're going to work, and I'm like, today I'm going to have a great day, and then you see somebody do something, and it's just like, what is wrong with people? You know, what are we doing out here? Let's take care of each other. Yeah. There's no need for it. I saw an accident. I saw 2 accidents. One, this is right in a row. Kenyon in college, accident happened. Just had happened. Police hadn't even gotten there yet. We had to take a left. I had to turn down College. I hit 30th Street, hit Hutton. There's another accident right there at 30th and Hutton. And then I actually sent a message to the city manager, and I said, wow, they're really taxing our police force. Well, then there was one on West Main.
Yeah.
So we had 3 different traffic accidents that we had to respond to.
Yeah.
And no doubt, we guarantee most of that was controllable and did not need to happen.
Right.
Well, I appreciate you putting an emphasis on this, and I've got people telling me East Main Street, West Main Street, the morning rush hour and the evening rush hour. I mean, that's when they're really seeing it a lot. I've got people who send me license plates of people that they see speeding in government cars, which I appreciate, because government workers should not be speeding. School bus drivers should not be speeding. That's unacceptable. But the liability that exists out there right now, and part of the issue that we're facing from an insurer's angle, is that all of our liability costs are going up because we are more reckless with how we're driving.
Yes.
And also, the juries are issuing more money in liability cases than they were in the past as well. So that's why a lot of our costs are continuing to go up. But well, thank you for that. And we're going to stay on top of it and I don't know, a campaign. We've got a campaign to recruit and retain and stop people from driving recklessly. New police station. Shifting gears here. Good news. We've got our bid in. We're going to be doing a full renovation of the property off the Bloomfield Highway. I still get the question, like, why did you put it all the way out there? I think a lot of that is the fact that it's a 50,000 square foot facility that we got for $3 million, and then another $3.5 million to renovate it. You could never build a 50,000 square foot police station nowadays for anything probably less than $100 million for everything that's going to have to be inside of it.
Yes.
So it's inside the city limits. It's access to Bloomfield Highway. It gives, look, and officers are in their districts. They're not sitting at the police station waiting to be deployed.
No.
So talk a little bit about that. I know this has been a big passion.
Yeah. The location is maybe not what you'd ideally like to see, but when you remember that it's officers like me that are there, so the chief's there.
Right.
I'm actually not on the street anyway. So where exactly I'm located is less significant. You're hitting on it. The department and the city were lucky to have Hillcore come forward and offer us a class facility like it is that will serve for 50 or 60 years. So this would have been on the back of taxpayers here in Farmington to try and renovate either the existing station we're in, which was in need of significant cost upgrades, or build a new facility, which I don't even know how we would have afforded it, honestly.
No, and it's funny because I remember when you first came here, that was one of the first things you said, and then we had a deputy chief who's no longer with us. That's the first thing that she said, is we got to have a new police station. And let me just add some context to this, because I just spoke about this the other day to a group. Its location is less important than having the location of all of our department, including detectives, including the crime lab, having everybody together on one campus. Because right now we're spread out, and it's inefficient, and this is going to help streamline policing in Farmington.
Yes, I absolutely agree with all of that. And so the location for the headquarters is less significant. The officers themselves are out and about. Work in their districts 24/7. So it is not like we ever pull them all off the street and there is no coverage. I think we just started. It's been a long haul to get here. I think we're coming up. It'll be 3 years in the summer when we got the facility. We've made it through. We got a bunch of funding from the state that's going to help us with the renovations. We went out to bid. A bid was accepted, and they're going to begin work here within the next few weeks to actually go in and begin significant renovation. We're hoping by the end of the year to maybe early in the spring. I'm a little probably of a pessimist. Give me about a year from now, and maybe we're starting to move in there a little bit. And then I think you will see the benefits of it. It is one of them is, as you did the speed study, one of the worst streets was Bloomfield Highway.
Right.
For speeding. So I think we'll be able to
help address that.
And and just seeing all the marked units in and out of there will slow things down. And then, the chance to get everything. Right now we've got our detectives in a separate building. We have our district coordinators in a separate building. We have our crime lab miles away from the station. Getting it all on one campus is going to make the department much easier to run as far as controlling what's going on, and then much more efficient as things flow together. Your detectives and your patrol officers are located together working cases. The crime lab is right there, so we're not driving across town and then driving back in order to do the work that we need to do on cases. And you can bring more partners in to work on that case there. So I'm real optimistic that once we get in there and the public gets used to where we are, the location will mean less than the fact that we got just a fantastic building with which, over the next 50, 60 years, the PD will be located.
No, I'm excited for it. It was something I didn't think was going to happen. There's been a few projects here that I didn't think would happen during my time of service, and I'm glad the way the stars aligned and we were able to come through with this. And I think it's going to be a real big benefit for policing. I also think it helps for recruiting, honestly.
Yes, no doubt about it.
We've got new facilities and new things. It certainly helps. Wasn't on our agenda, but the Real-Time Crime Center has been a big success.
Yes.
We've kind of seen that expand across the city. It's come to play a significant role in a lot of crimes and tracking down suspects. And so just, again, thank you and former Deputy Chief for bringing that in and making that a reality. Anything else? I mean, there's a lot we could talk about, but anything else you want to make sure we get off today?
I think really for where we are in 2025, things have been going fairly well. The traffic thing we have to stay after.
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood. Traffic thing we have to stay after. Excuse me. Recruiting retention is a challenge for every department in the state.
Yeah.
But we've got a real good community here. We've got strong community support for the department. That is true everywhere I go. I hear nothing but support for our men and women that are doing the job. And I'm very optimistic about where FPD and the city of Farmington is heading. You're right. The police renovation project is one. Obviously the Pinion Hills extension is another that I don't think that any of us right now can project what the city's going to look like 5 years or 10 years from now with that new bridge and that extension. But we certainly can see the tea leaves that there's already a lot of growth to the east side of the city. And if you project that extension down, you're not far from the police department when you're punching out onto Bloomfield Highway.
That's right.
I think there will be a lot of growth. It'll be exciting to see what's coming for the city of Farmington over the next decade, and I appreciate the chance to be here and contribute.
Well, I appreciate it as well, Chief. You've served 11 great years here in our community, and it's been great to serve with you during that time. And I want to thank you and your staff and all of our officers, the civilians who work behind the scenes. Policing is an important institution. And one that I think the city of Farmington and its residents can be proud of, the organization that we have right now. And I hope it's encouraging to hear those words because we need to recruit.
Yeah, we do.
And if you're watching this right now and you're passionate about the city that you live in, and you care about its people and you want to protect it, I encourage you to apply for the Farmington Police Department. I think it's a worthwhile career. It's one that comes with tremendous retirement benefits, and you should take advantage of that. I constantly telling people, if somebody would have told me, now that I've seen my friends retiring from policing and from your favorite department, the fire department, when I see them retiring from those jobs, I'm like, why didn't somebody tell me at 18 years old?
How can you even tell that a fireman's retired? Oh, didn't know that one.
Somebody would have told me if I'd have had any foresight. Like, it's hard to see what 45 is going to look like, or 48. I guess I'm 47 now, but it's hard to see where you're going to be at that point in time. And, well, no, I've got all these other plans. Well, geez, you could go through this and you could do a great service to your community, and then they're going to pay you for the rest of your life.
Right.
And you can go do something different and take all of that experience and that resume with you and go start a new career. Go start create your own business, whatever the case may be. But it is a worthwhile institution. And
if you're 22, 23, 24 years old and you have interest in being in policing or fire, like you're describing, public safety, you're on track to have a decent retirement starting when you're 45 to 50 years old, and then you're right. There's a second phase to life. You can take those skills and go and do other things.
Yeah.
And not everybody has to be me and stay forever.
Stay forever and ever.
Yeah, and ever.
And ever. Well, Chief, thanks again for all you do. Appreciate you being here on our show today, and thank you for tuning in. Again, we say it every episode. Share this episode. Talk about these things that are going on with your families and your friends, and stop driving recklessly. Take the time to plan ahead to make sure that you can get somewhere safely. I've got kids on the street. I've got my mother on the street. I've got individuals that I care and I love about, and I want to make sure they get home every night. So no drinking and driving, no reckless driving. Stay off your phones. Follow the speed limits. It's easy to get through Farmington. That's one of the benefits I love about living in this city. Is if I'm talking to my buddy in Albuquerque, he's complaining about the traffic, and I'm just cruising, man. There's no stop. So that's a big topic. Talk to your friends and family who might be interested in becoming a Farmington police officer. I think that's a critical conversation, and we'll look forward to this new police station. So, Chief, thanks again for being here today.
Absolutely.
Thanks for all you do at the state as well. I know you're well respected across the state for being a passionate and vocal supporter, advocate for policing and our police officers. So, thank you again for tuning in to today's Mayor Table. We'll see you here next time. Take care.